All right. So hi, everyone. My name is Ashley. I'm an implementation manager here at Teambridge. Super excited to be doing the webinar for March. And today's topic is automate your onboarding. Now, why do we want to use Teambridge for onboarding? The first reason is because we really want to streamline your processes by capturing data from the beginning to the end of an employee's life cycle. And this is really important because this will eliminate, if you're using multiple different systems, duplicate entry, and you also have a very full picture of what's going on with an employee so that, let's say if someone gets terminated and they want to actually work at your company again, you have all this data of why we started interviewing with them from the first place, to how many shifts they captured during their life cycle, to ultimately why they terminate, so that you could make the best judgment of why you might want to rehire them, or maybe why you don't want to rehire them. So having all that data in place is really great for us to make better decisions. We also want to leverage automations to remove any repetitive manual admin tasks. So if you currently give phone calls to your applicants and send them multiple follow-up emails, let's get rid of that so that your admins have more time to do other things that might be a bit more important over these manual tasks that can be automated with the system. Now for today, we're going to go over multiple different pieces. So we have the applicant registration, onboarding stages and flow, how we can optimize composability and automations within the system, how we can really excite your applicants, and ultimately how we can excite your clients as well. So today's going to be kind of a show and tell of different pieces that we can actually configure, as well as some tips and tricks. Now, if you do have any questions, we do have a Q&A here. Selena is available for answering any of your questions, so feel free to use the Q&A. She'll also be monitoring the chat as well today. So to start off with applicant registration here, we really have three different options. If you are a white label client, we do have an app registration once they actually download the app. So actually registering through the app will create them as a user directly in the system. So that is one option. We also have admin entry of applicants. So as an admin, you can go into the system, pull up your list of users and add those manually. You could also import a list. So a lot of the times our admins might use this if people are applying through Indeed or through different job boards. So they don't actually have this information directly within Teambridge. So you can use kind of this admin entry piece. And then the third option is forms. This one's a little bit more exciting. I do have an example here to show you. So you can see here, we have a form. I called it Teambridge Academy. You could customize it, put in, your own branding, pictures, words that you want to include when you're getting your applicant excited. And then you can also customize what type of questions that you ask. I have some basics here with the first name, last name, email address, what position they're applying for, region, but you could ask them how they heard about you, if they are from a reference, put in who referred you. All these different questions, these are just going to be columns within your user profile that we can then link to the form here. So those are kind of the three different options that we have when it comes to registering. Going a little bit more into onboarding stages and the flow of onboarding. You can see here, I just have a screenshot, but we can create multiple different stages. And again, this is another column that we'll have on our user profile. Usually we'll call it onboarding stage, or maybe you have an applicant workflow. This can be customized. And then using a single select, you could actually add all the different stages that you have. So these are some common ones that we see: applied, review credentials, interview, background check. We might hire the person, we might reject the person. Maybe there's an inactive status that we want to start tracking. We'll go into that a little bit more later, but you can kind of generally have a flow of the applicants here. And what's really nice, and let me actually pull out of here and go into Teambridge directly. When you're creating this type of applicant board view is what we call it, you just need a users list, add in the access group that it's applicants. And when you click list view on the top right here, we can select board view instead. And this is where that column that you create is going to be important. So onboarding stage is what we called it. It's going to pull all the different options. I'm going to remove no onboarding stage, but you can have that in here and save it. And you can ultimately move the different stages around based on sequence. So maybe review credentials is after the interview. We could move that over. So you could really position it how you want. And what's really great about this is it's a great snapshot for you to figure out, okay, how many people do I have in my pipeline? How many are on the applied stage, the review credential stage, et cetera, so that you could figure out how close are we to actually filling some of these positions and getting them up and running and working as employees. So this gives you a very nice overview. If you prefer to also have one where you're just looking at people that are inactive or rejected, you could create a different one here. So it's a board view still, but instead of having all the different groups, we're just showing inactive and rejected, so that if you need numbers on, okay, how many people are inactive, I just want to see that, we can always pull that information up as well. Okay. Now, when it comes to the flow, this is typically the flow that we see as well. Very common where we have people applying. So we talked about the 3 different registration options in which we'll place them into this applied section. And then we might ask them a bunch of questions to get them to upload documents, answer any questions that we need to make a decision on whether they're credentialed or not. We'll review those credentials. So whether you have a compliance team that does that or an admin team, we can make sure that they review all the details. We can interview them, background checks, hire, reject, typically the flow. Now, taking a look back here, with the credentialing piece, again, usually we see it at that applied stage where we'll ask them all these questions. We recommend using tasks for this, okay? So you can see here, this is another screenshot of the system where this is how you can configure a task. So we have the name of it, which is nurse license. We can give them a little description to explain what they'll be doing. And then it's going to be referencing back to your documents, and that will allow them to upload a file. So you can see file here in the form setup. Maybe we want them to enter in expiration dates. And we always want to categorize our documents. And that's because that allows us to really report on all the different documents types that someone might have uploaded. We could do, reports on things that are expiring for nurse licenses because that might be the most important. So we could do a lot of reporting as long as we have those types recorded in here. So this is the individual task, right? So nurse license might be an example, CPR might be an example, BLS, all of those different things can be tasks that we ask our applicant to upload. The second piece to this is the grouping of tasks. Now, this is important because usually we're not just asking everyone to upload a set of 10 documents. It's going to be based on whether they are working in a specific role that will ask for certain documents, or maybe they're working in a specific state that will ask for certain documents. So here you can see we can group our tasks. So I just have some examples here where it's a Seattle onboarding, San Francisco onboarding, New York onboarding. It can get a lot more granular. This is something that you could set up yourself, but you can see that for our San Francisco onboarding, we're going to ask for a nurse license, CPR, and a resume. Maybe we're not asking for other things, but we'll ask if they're from New York. So again, really getting granular with what information we need. And because this is all just configuration, we can make sure that we're capturing all this information up front and making the decisions of whether this is going to be a good applicant or not. And of course, when they've actually completed all those tasks, we'll then put them in the review credentials stage. And at this stage, we can actually, oh, here you go. We can actually have a section. So here you can see I have Jessica Alba, who's submitted 3 different credentials, and you can actually review them here as well. Of course, with all of this, we always do need to bring back e-signature because there might be offer letters that need to be signed. There might be agreements that need to be assigned when it comes to onboarding an applicant. And so we have 2 integrations that are available. We have our DocuSign integration as well as Sign Now. They're both great. And you can utilize those to make sure that there's a seamless experience in terms of sending out documents that need to be signed to the applicant. They'll sign it, and that pulling through automatically back to Teambridge. So there is a little bit of configuration that will need to be done within DocuSign or Sign Now, depending on what you choose, making sure the documents are in there, choosing which line items they need to sign, if it needs 2 signatures. But all of that will make sure that everything is in one place here so that you're not having to actually manually download documents from an e-signature platform and then re-upload that into Teambridge. So these are both great options to incorporate those pieces in your onboarding as well. Now, the next piece that I want to dive into is really how do we optimize composability and automations? First off, with composability, we can really create different columns based on what we need to track for our applicants. So I have an example here. Very common ask from a lot of my clients is, I want to report on how long onboarding actually takes. So with that, you can see I created 3 separate columns. They are both date fields so that you could actually see how quickly your applicants are moving along with the onboarding stages and where the holdup might be. So you can see here we have Brad Pitt and Will Ferrell really stuck on that applied date stage, not moving forward, while Jessica Alba is stuck on the completed credentialing stage. So we're still waiting on someone to review their credentials before we can hire them. So you can make better decisions taking a look at this, and it also helps you identify where there might be gaps, where we might need to set up more automations, or maybe we need to be a bit more efficient on some of our processes. All of this will give you better data. Something else that you could set up is, for example, reference checks. So I created a separate object here so that we could track reference checks, add in a bunch of different questions on that. And we have another example here that we can show you. And I'm really into this photo here, which is why we've decided to use it for all our forms. But you can see here, we can ask, who is the applicant that you're referencing for? How do you know the applicant? What would you rate them out of 5? How's their work ethic? Would you rehire this candidate or not? So asking some simple questions here, but you could absolutely elaborate and ask more. But based on having this information, now we could actually have that directly within the system, where Jessica Alba here used to be someone's assistant. They were a 4 out of 5, very hardworking, and yes, they would rehire them. So maybe Jessica Alba is someone that we do want to hire here at Teambridge Academy. So making decisions based on that. And again, using that composability adding all the different layers and things that we need to set up. If you need any help with that, of course, our customer success team is available to assist and brainstorm how to best set that up. But here's another example. Another one would be interview details. So if you do want to track all that information in Teambridge, we could set up a section where you have the recruiter that did the interview, the date that they interviewed for, all the different notes. And then there's a button here where on this screen, you can directly say, okay, I did the interview. I approve of what we went through. I want to move them to the next stage. And using automations, we could automatically move them to that next stage. So we could create these different views. If you have multiple different recruiters, each recruiter could have their own view. So really utilizing the composability again to kind of put together the best views, but also the best data that you need to make the best decisions. All right. So we talked about, those tasks, and we talked about how Will Ferrell and Brad Pitt is really stuck on the applied stage. Here's a tip and trick that we have with a lot of our clients on how we can actually increase the speed of them actually completing these tasks. So reminders are really great and things that we can automate within the system so that, again, you don't have an admin person sitting at their desk giving people calls, trying to, nudge them along to complete these different tasks and credentialing items. So here you can see we have two automations set up. I just called them SF Credential Reminder, day 1, day 2. And the automation is looking at, okay, if we've assigned this onboarding task to someone a day after, and they're still at that applied stage, they haven't moved along, let's make sure we send a reminder. And of course, you can craft this message, enter in whatever makes the most sense. And then we can do it for multiple days or maybe a couple hours after it's been assigned to them. This is all up to you in terms of what you think will make the most sense. Usually, I would say most of my clients will do a day after when it comes to these, not so much an hour after. So just a tidbit there. But these reminder of tasks are really great so that we can nudge people along without having you to manually do that. And let's say, you've nudged them along for multiple days, they still haven't created it. Maybe we want to set them as inactive. They're not that interested if they're not, filling out their tasks, and we actually want to remove them from our pipeline. So here is our removed applicants board view that we were looking at earlier, where we have some people inactive, some people rejected. But you can see in the automation itself, we're looking at after 5 days. Again, they haven't completed those tasks. Send a message to let them know, hey, thanks for your interest, but at this time, because you're not moving forward, we're going to deactivate your account. If you're interested, please reach out again. So we could archive them, we could set them to this inactive stage, send out these automations. And so if someone does reach back out and they're like, hey, no, I am interested, most likely they're giving you a call, you're on the phone, you're really getting them through the different processes again. So again, great automation to kind of help weed out some of those people that are really staggering and not making any movement in your onboarding. All right, so the next piece that I want to talk about is how we can excite your applicants. So one way that you can excite your applicants is allowing them to view open shifts. So when we're opening up open shifts to your applicants, we can make sure that they only see things within their state or based on location. We could make sure it's based on the roles that they're eligible to work for or that they're applying for. But this allows them to see, oh my gosh, we have so many shifts that I could have picked up during this time that I'm onboarding. Let me quickly go through onboarding so that I could ultimately start working and showing pay rates, bonuses. That also is another layer of giving your applicants kind of insight on how much work they could be doing once they are a full-fledged employee, and to really help motivate them to move along through the process. Of course, this is all configuration though, so if you don't want to show those things, we don't have to. And you might actually want to even notify them if a shift is boosted. I know last session we talked about filling shifts and boosting shifts, sending those notifications out to people. Applicants might be part of that group of staff that you want to include in those notifications because you want to show them how often, we might be boosting shifts and all this opportunity that they might be losing out on if they're taking their time with onboarding. So again, just incentivizing them to quickly complete those onboarding tasks, quickly get through this so that you can start working soon. Now, the next piece is how we could potentially excite our clients as well. And when it comes to clients, we could make sure that we notify them when a staff is working their first shift. This shows your clients that, hey, we're growing, we're getting more people to really fill out all your facilities and all your shifts. So here you can see I have a notification that Jessica Alba is scheduled to work at my location for the first time. Please make sure they feel welcome. So these little things will really show your facility some insight into, what's going on with your company, but also show them that you're growing as a business. You could also give them access to review credentials. So earlier I gave you a sneak peek of it, but what could be great is actually giving your facilities access to it so that they can see, oh, Jessica Alba's great fit for working here because they have all the requirements that I need, a nurse license, a CPR, a resume, and they could actually view all that information themselves. Also helps save your admin time so that your facility isn't calling your admin, sending them emails saying, hey, I really want to know if Jessica Alba has a nurse license, is it up to date? We don't have to do that. Let's give them access to it so that they can actually see it themselves whenever they need to. And then on top of that, this is a new feature that we released recently, and it is the bulk download. This will actually allow your facilities to say, okay, I want to see everything for Jessica Alba. Maybe I don't want to click into each one to view it. Let me bulk select all of them, download it, merge it into a file so that I could easily have that report of everything that Jessica Alba has. So again, just giving them more capabilities and ease of use of the system is really great so that it's only a couple clicks for them to then pull up a list of credentials and easily know if Jessica Alba is the right fit. Now, I know I'm picking on Jessica Alba, but of course we could do that for all of the applicants that you have if needed. All right. So those were the main tidbits that we had, and I have 5 minutes to spare, which is awesome. So I'd love to open it up to questions. I know Selena's been reviewing the Q&A over there, but also any feature requests that you might have. Something, if you did watch the product webinar roadmap, you would have seen that we're really interested in AI and looking into that and how we could actually help that with onboarding. So that's something that we're definitely looking at as a team. But anything else that you think would be great, we're happy to hear and take that back to our product team. Any questions on your end, Selena, that hasn't been answered yet?
Nope, no new questions, but I encourage them.
It looks like there's a few Q&As in the chat. I don't know if you want to answer those live at all. Or in the Q&A section, I should say.
Maybe, Ashley, you would want to answer for references. How do we set it up to text the reference to fill out the form? And I can get to the others.
Yeah, for sure. So with texting the reference, that's a great question. We could actually set those references up as contacts within the system so that we could enter in a phone number as well, and then sending out that form to them. There's quite a few different configuration pieces to that. So feel free to reach out to us as customer success and we could go through it with you. But the context object there is going to be key to make sure that we could actually put in a phone number and text out to those references. And I think there's another one regarding, is this additional fee? So I would recommend reaching out to your customer success team, or maybe even Selena or I that are on this call directly, and we could, take a look at your contract, review it with you, and go from there. I don't want to say that it's an additional fee until I kind of see what we've agreed upon and taking a look at that piece there. Great question. So another one here in the chat is there soon to roll out more available scheduling for staffing? Our team's currently utilizing Google Calendar. So we don't have anything at this very moment, but great feedback for sure. I think that's something that could be very valuable. So we'll definitely take that back to our product team. Then we have another question here. Placeholders in the documents section, how can we add those so that DocuSign comes back into Teambridge? They filter into the name. Tim, I think you and I could probably take a look at this a little further during one of our calls. I'd love to learn more about what you're referring to there. And recording, yes, we will make sure everyone has the recording in case I was talking a little too fast, but we'll definitely send that out. All right, I think those were all the questions. And we're on time. So thank you so much again for everyone showing up. We really appreciate your engagement, asking questions. And similar to some of the answers I mentioned earlier, if you are interested in learning more, you want to start building that elf, feel free to reach out to us and we could make sure we have someone chat with you about that. Thank you.